going on? Hey, all work, no pleasure. I ain't here to make friends, big stepper. Hey, bad guy, Heath Ledger. Ready for whatever, I'll be front and center. Don't fly too close to the sun, your body chopped up by propellers. Came in arrogant, but left out in a stretcher. Fuck the comparison, y'all know y'all couldn't replicate it. Chilling in the desert, I'm good under pressure.
Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found.
This a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles.
From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down.
That's a crown on me, wear it proud, show 'em what we bout.
Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found.
So this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles.
From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down.
That's a crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking about. All work, no pleasure. I ain't here to make friends, big stepper. Hey, bad guy, Heath Ledger. Ready for whatever, I'll be front and center. Quick to sever, however, whoever. Raining from above, we shooting down through your umbrella. Ay, getting fed up, nothing you could tell us. Snapping every shot I take, just wait till it develops.
Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found.
This a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles.
From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down.
That's a crown on me, wear it proud, show 'em what we bout.
Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found.
Said this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles.
From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down.
That's a crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking
Stick
about.
around when we hold it down, look at what we found. From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down. Stick around when we hold it down, look at what we found.
Said this a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles.
From the ground with me to the clouds, never coming down.
That's a crown on me, wear it proud, fuck what they was talking about.
I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits, excuse me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. The crash came when the cash came, spend it before you get it like those rookies all on draft day. For the love like it's match game, hit the ground running, really do it for my last name. They act different when the facts change. I'm not with the tip attack games. In my own league I don't chase game. In my own league I don't hang with lanes. I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits, excuse me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. Now how could that be? Talking about who can be talking about me. Feeling like stretch where I got all this reach. Feeling too blessed when I step on these beats. Now how could that be? I could beat the pressure, I could beat the 2-3. Jab, jab, hook, then I duck and I weave. It was never you, it was me versus me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits, excuse me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me. Better up, get some, swinging for the fences, I might leave it in the sun. Every pitch a home run, stack a couple tickets just to leave it to my son. Take it back while I be gone. Small city kid, couldn't dream a bigger one. A marathon, never run. Check the scoreboard, how I'm feeling like I won. I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits, excuse me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business. If you see me, don't trip, just excuse me. Wrong if I do, wrong if I don't. That's why I do me no matter what, so excuse me. Lie if I do, lie if I don't. The proof is in the story, take a seat and excuse me.
Ringside seats do an ethnic cleansing.
Good evening, everyone, and salute to you. Happy Hump Day, and welcome to the Foxhole with Bossman, yours truly, and another edition of the Stand on Business podcast. Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Who do we have in the Foxhole today? We have Edward Gilbert. What's up? What's up? Salute to you, sir. Salute, salute. Good to see you. And we have Smitty's Corner. Salute, salute. And that's, hey, with much respect to you too. All right. I would say sir or ma'am, but I have no idea. So I'm going to be neutral and just say salute to you. All right. All right. As people pile in to the show, I am just going to say I have been on a little bit of a hiatus here as of late. And let me explain just a little bit as of why. It has been hectic, okay? Between work and my own personal life, between dealing with prepping for the show, figuring out the streaming situation relative to TikTok, and then of course my own wife. She's doing things as well, and growing over there. So shout out to my wife and her growth as well. So that means that we have to play tag team relative to our baby boy. So it has been interesting to say the least. I literally just got off live on TikTok as well just today. So this is my second live today. So, and then of course, daddy daycare and mommy daycare. Okay, on both of our parts. So it has been interesting, and I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to figure this out. Salute to you, Milani. Good to see you, dear. All right, lovely as always to see you. And I don't know if StreamYard has done an update. All right, but the picture is blown up beautifully, and I can see the picture beautifully. And ma'am, okay, all right, your face is beat, baby. All right, love it. All right, beautiful picture. All right. So happy Wednesday, happy hump day to you. Okay. All right. So it is good to be back. All right. And as I've tried to figure out this whole new schedule thing going on, I will try my best to figure out a way to be more engaging and get back in the saddle. So it's been interesting. Of course, we got Christmas coming up, and y'all already know, Boss Man Cooks, and I have a list. It is not a Christmas list of gifts. This is a grocery list for dinner. All right. Yeah. So you guys will not see me next week. because I will be on a hiatus as well because of cooking. All right. And I think next Wednesday is Christmas Day. So yeah, I don't think you will see anybody, but definitely won't see me next week as well because I am going to be cooking. All right. So it is interesting. So with all of that, I am here today and got an interesting topic for you. All right. So understanding the terms and conditions. And yes, is love really unconditional? So, background to this topic. All right. Yes, yes, dear, it's beat. All right. It is beat. All right. Beat for the gods. All right. So listen. I have been working on this topic for a little bit. So how I do things literally is that I churn, okay, and mull over topics for a little bit, and before I bring them to the fold. And typically, what I try and do is give them a little bit of thought before I bring them to you. Okay, and so. Not even God. So no, it's not. Even God's love has conditions. Oh, interesting thought. Sorry, I have like 3 chats happening at the same time. So, all right. So we have some. So we have some answers already. Okay. All right. Interesting. I'll go ahead and start because I want to come back. I want to come back to it. Okay. So I generally try to think of these things a little bit before I bring them to the fold. Interestingly enough, this particular topic here, there isn't really any hard per se psychological data, empirical data to really latch on to. And that should tell you something about this particular topic here, because this isn't something that's really tangible. This topic here, love in itself, isn't really tangible. And that kind of sort of goes into the topic for tonight. This goes into my reasoning and my kind of theory for tonight's topic, because love is not really tangible. Or should I say, it isn't quantifiable in a sense where it can be quote unquote studied in a sense for me to be able to find any, let's say, data, statistics, something like that for me to actually show you per se. Okay. And so when I have a lot of topics in the brain that I pretty much mull over, and I don't want to get into my overall thought processes as far as how I come up with these different topics to kind of come up with. But one thing for sure, and 2 things for certain, is that I don't want to bring up anything half baked. I would much rather not even have a week's show if I think that something is not fully baked enough for me to come to you guys with a whole slice or a whole, baked good for me to present. Okay. So this one has been on the brain for a little bit. And I have a theory relative to 1, what love is and what it isn't. 2, why love seems to be such a tumultuous topic. Why does it bring such confusion to everybody? Why does everyone see it so? Why does everyone perceive it and see it so differently? Why is there such a confusion about it in the first place? And I theorize when it comes to this topic between men and women, I theorize that to begin with, no one really seems to understand what love is in the first place. That's my perception. That's my ultimate kind of sort of beginning of my thesis. First of all, yo, what's up, BMU? Damn it. It is love knows no bounds. It is unconditional, or it is conditional. Oh, you're answering my question. Is love really unconditional? And you're saying it is unconditional. Love knows no bounds. Put a point on that. Okay. So we have Melania saying that it is unconditional. And then we have Edward Gilbert saying that it is not unconditional. Even God has conditions. Oh, we already have debate. Love is self-sacrifice for the benefit of the other, and it's a physical act, not words. Okay. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and see, we already have a man and a woman already battling it out. Yes, that is the point. Love it when a plan comes together. And so, really quick, what I tend to do is I literally have a committee in the brain. And when I hear or think of something, there's literally an argument that happens in the brain. And then what happens is I go back and forth. And if I can go back and forth in my own thoughts, that to me says that's a good topic. Quite literally. So, oh, she's saying yes, unconditional. Got it. Okay. So let's break this down for a second. Oh, here we go. Love is only unconditional for women, pets, and children. Men are loved under the condition they can provide something. Uh-oh. Here we go. All right. So let's break this down really quick. Okay. And I'm kind of wondering if I should play the clips first or if I should provide. No, I'm going to provide my overall thesis first before I'm going to keep my consistency, because I have a theory first, and the clips that I have really don't provide context or color to my own thesis, my own theory. So, but okay, I don't mean battle as in I just mean I don't want to say contention. There's contest, not consternation, not detestment, just a little friendly battle with levity. Okay? How about that? All right. So here are my thoughts. All right. I believe that when it comes to just a general relationship in general, okay? I'm going to start with the relationship and then work my way backwards. When it comes to a general relationship, one must, in order for one to establish any type of trust, any type of, comfort, any type of, let's just say, we can just say comfort, any type of, establish emotional connection to some degree, there has to be some semblance of requirements met relative to the individual person towards the other. Okay, let's just start before we get into the bowels of the actual banks of the relationship. Let's just start just in general. Okay, so you meet a person and you establish whether or not that person is going to be someone that you are going to be interested in. That right there, there's a requirement. Okay, so if we can all agree there, put one in the chat if you agree. Just there, you see a person, and before establishing if you're actually going to talk to said individual, there is a requirement as to whether or not you are going to talk to said person. Now, if we can agree there, then you start talking to the said individual. You start getting to know the said individual. You have certain requirements in order to start trusting the individual, to start opening up to the individual. And from there, you start to determine whether or not this person is worthy of opening up to, worthy of discussing things with, worthy of establishing a bond with, worthy of establishing relational connections with, worthy of opening yourself physically to, worthy of sharing anything personal with, worthy of establishing any meaningful connection or establishment or connection with. And if they don't meet those said requirements, those said conditions, then you discontinue, you disembark. If everyone's with me so far, then you can put a 1 in the chat and we can continue. I think everyone's with me so far. Now, if everyone is there, if there's dissent, then put a 2, and then we can talk about where I went wrong here so far. Now, the general idea when it comes to love. Okay, everyone's with me so far. So now, where the confusion starts coming in here. All right. So men and women require different things from each other. Okay. But generally speaking, there is a requirement from a man in order for a woman to maintain interest, maintain connection, maintain communication. And for a man, there's a requirement from a woman in order for him to continue pouring out time, money, effort, interest, so on and so forth. So both people have to continue to receive something from the other person in order to continue to meet in the middle at that proverbial table that we talked about last time. Okay, so now let's get to the point where people start loving. What is love? Now, before I start saying what love is, no, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. To me, people seem to get confused and think that love is an emotion. So let me ask a question. Who in here thinks that love is an emotion? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that love is an emotion. Put a 2 if you think it's not. One for emotion, 2 if it's not. Okay, so we got 1, 2. That's not 1, 4, 2. That's not an emotion. God's conditions are that we repent for our sins, follow His commandments, and put no other gods before Him. Conditions. Okay, so that's a 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so you don't. So that's a 2. So both 2s essentially. Okay. Now, most people think that it's an emotion. Here is my thought on love. Love is not an emotion. Love, to me, is indeed a compendium or an amalgamation of feelings that once recognized by the person feeling the feelings or the emotions, they then emote them by an action that is then recognized by the other person to be love. Okay, that's one. The other one is when you have a amalgamation of these said feelings, you can choose whether or not you're going to actually act out said emotions, said actions, but the actual recognition, the conscious recognition of said feelings can be perceived once you consciously acknowledge them, can be perceived as love. So let's walk this through. You recognize that you admire someone, you trust someone, you are overly acceptant of someone, you have serenity around someone, you have an interest, you have over optimism of someone, you have over joy, ecstasy around someone. You have no fear of this person. You are are emotion. You have a over affection for the person. You have passion for the person. You seem to be somewhat obsessed with the person. There's admiration. I mentioned that. There's a mental attachment. There is empathy. There's even devotion. There's a bunch of different emotions that you feel that are somewhat feelings, right? That piled together, once you recognize it, you then say to yourself, I think I love this person. Now, it's the things that you then do that is then recognizable to be then love by the other person. Because then you start internally, you start then recognizing the things that you're doing or reacting to or starting to feel or starting to actually performatively do yourself, that then to yourself identifies personally, subjectively, to be then your way of identifying personally love. Now, here's the kicker. What is required first in order to feel? We're going down psychology lane here. What is required to feel? To the four of you that are here, what is first required to feel? I said it just a moment ago. Thought. It is impossible to feel anything without first thinking, whether it's conscious or subconscious. The brain must first think in order to feel. This is why sociopaths have a hard time feeling, because they are unable to process a certain thought. They're unable to place themselves into a certain mindset, to imagine themselves into somebody else's position, to be empathetic. There's a disconnect, mental. This is why it's a mental condition. And in order to get that person to think first about, in order to get them to think first and then program themselves in order to feel, you must meet their conditions. And that condition is convincing them that it's okay to think that you can be trusted, to think of you in a way that is attractive. So, this is why, one of the reasons why I say that yes, love is conditional, because it first starts here. This is why there's the common saying that if you get into a woman's mind, you have her heart. Because if you could convince a woman that you are committed, intentional, that you love her, and how do you convince a woman that you love her? Well, when you tell a woman that you love her, one of the first things that she will always ask you is, prove it, show me. Sounds like a condition to me. Now, you must first, or how do you know? which means in order to meet that requirement of knowing, you have to then show proof. You can't show a feeling. You can show an emotion by emoting, but love you cannot emote. What people refer to as I felt love, what you felt was a reaction, a response of just energy of innate response of interpersonal reaction to something that someone did. This is called an innate reaction. So kind of like when you instantly get fearful and you get scared. Well, when your heart gets the flutters, it's a similar reaction. It's the opposite of fight or flight. And then you have to go back and think, why did I feel that? That is because you have a subconscious thought that you didn't consciously think about. But you cannot feel something without thinking it. It is impossible. Either you thought it consciously or you subconsciously thought about it. Either one. There's no way of feeling something without thinking it. This is why you can get off on certain charges by act of passion. So let's get back to it. Love being an action. So when you have a thought that turns into a feeling that then turns into an action, this is what I would like to call a cycle of love. Thought, feeling, action. Now, you're that woman that's looking at that man, and that man is acting on feeling, or he's providing actions that you are then translating to that you are then superimposing or translating to mean that he must love you because he wouldn't be doing these things if he didn't, which is translating to you as all. And now you are convinced he's checking off boxes. And now you're loving. And now you are pushing back and loving and showing love. Now he is looking at what you're doing and perceiving the same thing. This is why everyone's love language is different, because everyone else shows love very differently. Some people's love language is acts of service, are acts of service. Some people's love language is gift giving. Some people's love language is over aggression or over smothering, like physical touch. Some is just acts of words of affirmation, words of praise. Right? And how you know you actually love someone is if their love language is a type of love that you are. I'm sorry, it's a type of love that you love. Now we get into different types of love. Love as an adjective or love as a verb. Because there is a difference. And this is where people seem to have a little bit of a problem. So love is a noun, love is a verb. I meant noun, not a not a adjective. Excuse me. Strong affection for another arising out of a kinship or personal ties, attraction based on a sexual desire, affection and tenderness felt by lovers, affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interest, an assurance of affection, warm attachment, enthusiasm, or devotion, the object of attachment, devotion, and admiration, a beloved person, darling, often used as a term of endearment, unselfish, loyal, and benevolent, concern for the good of another, such as a fatherly concern of God for humankind, brotherly concern of others, a person adoration of God, amorous episode, love affair, a sexual embrace, copulation. Okay. Now a verb: loved or loving, to hold dear, cherish, to feel a lover's passion, devotion, or tenderness for, caress, to fondle amorously. I'm gonna use that with my wife. Amorously. Come here, wife, and let me loving you amorously. To fondle amorously. To copulate with. Yeah, I'm gonna use that later. Come here, woman, let me copulate with you amorously. All right. To like or desire actively, take pleasure in, to thrive in. And in intransitive verb, to feel affection or experience desire. In love, inspired by affection, or at love, holding one's opposite scoreless in tennis. If a woman wants my bald head, she definitely loves me. Now, so do you see how we just went through various components of and various spreads of the meanings of love? If we're talking interpersonally, then yes, it is an exchange. It is this cycle of love here, where one perceives someone's actions or inactions to be the existence or the non-existence of love. Now I'm waiting for this question to pop up, and I may have to go ahead and say it. Let's see. Can someone? Okay. I don't think someone's going to ask this question. We'll see. But I'm waiting for this one question to pop up. Usually, because I tried this theory on TikTok, and I had to prove this question. And I'm waiting for someone to ask this question, but we'll see. Okay. So overall, with my cycle of thought, feeling, action, understanding how feelings are a byproduct of thought, therefore funneling into a action. Now, conditions to earn someone's love. To me, that is subjective to each individual person. And if you have to earn someone's love, is that not by definition conditional? And if you have to earn the love, is it not then by definition that you have to meet certain conditions to maintain said love? Is that not the case? Because if you have to, it's like a job. If you have to work to earn the job, don't you have to work to keep the job? And here's another reason why I think people get this whole love unconditional part thing messed up. Is because as a child, we all understand. I think it's this transition between familial love as a child, confused. We all experience unconditional love as a child, right? Supposedly. And then we all think that when we get older, that when we meet and cleave to our spouses or our loved ones, hey Braxton, how you doing? That we are then supposed to meet this person who is supposed to be this life partner, that there's supposed to be this unconditional aspect to marriage. What do you wait? What you do to get the person, you have to do to keep them. Exactly. So now let me explain. So when it comes to my own marriage, right? I have no doubts in my mind that I could probably become a paraplegic. I could probably, lose an eye. I could, blow my other ACL, and I have no doubts that my wife will still love me, right? I think that part is the benign love, right? The love that is just a constant. What I don't think is that I could just go out and, sleep with a harem of women and continue to mistreat her, right? And think that the service of love, not the internal part of love, but the actual interpersonal aspect of love, I don't think that part is going to be continued to be expected. I think that part, I don't think that is unconditional. So to your point, Milani, I think the feeling aspect of the love, the internal part, I think that can be unconditional. Because to say that love is just blindly unconditional says that a person basically can do anything in the world to you and it's supposed to be unconditional. I think it can be, and it's relative to the individual. But to put a limiter on it and say that you didn't really love the person if you didn't unconditionally love them. Well, if it took conditions to get the love, I'd imagine that it would take conditions to keep it. I'd imagine what value is your love? Not to say you, Monty, or anyone else like Edward, but I would just imagine just you as in the common person out there. What value is your love if it didn't take any conditions to get it? And I think everyone has this misconception that love is supposed to be, I mean, even biblically speaking, people say love is patient, love is kind, it keeps no record of right or wrong, and that's correct. But even in that statement, there's a presupposition that love is. That meant that love was already established. Provided that you have an established love already, it is patient, kind, it keeps no record of right or wrong, so on and so forth. But you had to get there, which meant that there was conditions to get there. It would seem so to me. Now I'm still waiting for this other question, and I'm surprised that y'all haven't asked this other question to me. Peculiar. So, checkmate, baby. Good evening. The word love is an action. Are their own sectors. Someone can swear up and down that they love you, but putting in the effort to show the love can be tricky. It can be tricky considering that what somebody else considers to be love is subjective, and it's and it's the other person, is the receiving person's responsibility to convey what is considered love to them. I agree with that. Yes. So I have a couple questions. How often does anyone love someone flaws and all? Think about that question. Chew on that for a second. Here's another question. Can you love someone you don't like? Slim to none to the answer to the question of how often does anyone love someone flaws and all? Interesting. Can you love someone you don't like? The answer is no. Very straight, direct answers to the question. Okay. These are questions that I've come up with while I was I'm telling you, while I'm mulling this stuff over, these random questions pop in the brain. Can you continue to love someone you begin to dislike? Once you begin to dislike them. So can you continue to love someone once you begin to dislike them? Because you said no about loving someone you dislike. Now, you like them at one point. Can you continue to love someone that you begin to dislike? If I don't like someone, I'm not even dealing with them. But what if you like them at one point and you like them, love them, but you begin to dislike them? Then what? When their flaws are gone is when they'll finally decide to love them. Okay, he was being facetious here. Arranged marriages be like, we hated one another right away, but we hated everyone else even more. Milan liked that one. Because I hear people in marriages say that I don't like him sometimes, but I love him. Or I don't like her sometimes. She gets on my nerves, but I love her. Let that one chew for a second. Now, I think, Braxton, you were not here, but I presented this equation here, the cycle of love: thought, feeling, action. Okay. And love starting first with the convincing of someone's thoughts, matriculating and metastasizing to a feeling, which then pushes out to an actual action, a performative action, which is then recognized and realized by someone to be recognized as love. I'm stalling because there's a question that I'm usually I got it this last time in TT, and I'm not getting it here over here in white tea, and I am surprised. I don't know because I be obsessed. Well, we're gonna get to that, Milani. That's next. All right. So I'm gonna play a couple of clips. Don't worry, I got some material for you guys, but for the most part, my synopsis, and I got my look. I got my synopsis done in less than an hour. I'm getting pretty good at this. And this is no simple topic. I got one more component to break down relative to the differences between the components of love. There's one more part I want to break down. But I got now there's actually two more components. Actually, there's two more. Okay. But in general, I got a really complicated component about love that people seem to. I heard someone say love is sacrifice. Is it? Love is not sacrifice. You may sacrifice because you love somebody. Love may push you to sacrifice for someone. Love may push you to do a lot of things, but love is not sacrifice. That is an absolute statement. It's not. Hell, you sacrifice for someone you like. Fuck, there are people in the medical field every day who damn near sacrifice that sacrifice the possibility of their own existence for people they don't even fucking know. Is that love? No. They don't know these people. Years and decades in, and I still have butterflies and things of that nature. Decades in what? Oh, hold on. What? Well, you see, I strongly dislike you, but I love your sex, though. What are we talking about? Are we talking about someone saying it to me as far as my marriage? What are we talking about? Because I'm waiting for BMU to come back and say pause. I'm not willing to die for someone. I just like, if I love you, my life is worth putting on the line for you. Okay. See? Yeah. Although, hold on. Hey, Edward, what were you saying? How to? How? Oh, wait. How sacrifice is not love? Remember, I said that if that's the case, remember I said that thought, feelings, actions, the actions themselves is not the love. Okay. So remember, I said that love is the compendium or the amalgamations of the feelings that you have that will push you to then do the actions that somebody else might recognize as love. But internally, it is the will to actually, first is the actual recognition of the feelings that you have that would then push you to then do certain actions. It is the will to actually do those actions. Because otherwise you wouldn't even think about doing those things or even have the feelings that would even remotely push you or even convince you to even think about, because remember, you have to even think to do the actions. So the actions themselves aren't necessarily love. Because remember, you have to think to do the actions. So what's before the action? Think about it. If somebody gives an offering at the church, the offering really isn't the sacrifice. The offering really honestly should not be what is really praised. That person's will to make the sacrifice is. Did that make sense? Hey, Coach Berg. What have you done for me lately? Yes, sir. Agreed. That part. But Edward, did the part that I mentioned about the sacrifice part, sacrifice not being love in itself, did that part make sense? Or did I explain that well? those church mothers and what'd you say? Those church mothers and deacons pulling out that heart candy is a true offering. Man, them candies be on time. It be on time, sir. All right. But the conditions of earning someone's love to me can be wrapped up in 2 words: trust and joy. Now, trust in itself is a really, really messy word. Joy, well, not so much. But trust is very subjective. Now, conditions of submission. Now I'm going to get a little messy. Trust, security, and assurance. Still got trust in there, though. At least my opinion. Okay. So, again, to me, if it takes conditions to earn it, it takes conditions to keep it. And again, I think people feel much longer than they're willing to act on the feeling. But again, when it comes to the love itself, love is not feeling in itself, but is the compendium or amalgamation of a bunch of other feelings that will then push you to take on actions that then somebody else can, either yourself or somebody else, can recognize as love, because somebody can't see what you're feeling purely. Someone can see what you emote because of your feeling, or someone can see what you do as a result, can see what you performatively do because of what you're feeling. This is why when a psychopath doesn't, or someone who doesn't have the ability to emote does something that is opposite or antithetical to what someone typically does whenever they're feeling a certain way, this is why you need a psychologist to come in and say, no, people with this type of syndrome, they don't necessarily do that. They're not normal. All right. Now, I'm going to ask this question and I'm going to play some clips. Okay? Because again, I think I've made that point. I don't know if people necessarily agree with me. And again, it's not necessarily the point here to get people to agree with me. It's my thought. And quite frankly, it's not a perfect thought. And I don't think that I'm right. I'm working on this theory. Okay? But it is maybe halfway, it's bread, okay? I maybe got some more tuning up to do with this theory. But I do know for sure that love is not unconditional. It is definitely conditional. All right? But why it is, as far as relative to this cycle right here, come on, mouse, get it together. As far as this cycle right here, thought, feeling, action, this equation right here is a start. I may have to come back to this, but this is a start. Now, here's the question that I was asked on TT. What is the difference between love and in love? Surprised y'all didn't ask me this question. I was ready for y'all. Come on, y'all. Before y'all answer the question, let's watch the footage. Check it out.
If you love them for their kindness, it's admiration. If you love them for their money, it's interest. If you, it's empathy. If you love them through thick and thin, it's genuine commitment. If you love them for their mind and intellect, it's intellectual attraction. If you love them deeply, even when you're apart, it's emotional connection. If you love them and prioritize their happiness over your own, it's selflessness. If you love them for the way they make you laugh, it's humor-based affection. If you love them unconditionally, flaws and all, it's pure unconditional love.
So this is what prompted me to ask the question, how often does anyone love someone flaws and all? Because if you love someone unconditionally, relative to flaws and relative to their flaws and imperfections. Now, this ties me back to why you love someone, right? Now, or the different types of love. Now, loving someone not because of what they do, because that's one type, but loving someone because of the fact that, loving someone through the fact that they are not exactly what you are wanting or what you would like. That's one format of a type of unconditional love. So remember I said that my wife could love me if I become a paraplegic, or if I was missing an eye, because of the fact that at one point in time I had both eyes. See what I'm saying? That's a format. That's that benign love. Not me going out here and being a total asshole. And this is where I think people conflate the two. One is an interpersonal and interpersonal exchange of, I do for you, you do for me, and there is a push-pull, okay? An active type of love, okay? And then the other one is just benign, kind of sort of flat-based foundational type. The two should be separate and distinct, basically. All right, let's proceed. Oops.
Whenever someone says, like, what is love? Most people just describe activities that people who are in love do. Well, it means, and then they use a laundry list of activities. And so the best definition I have, measuring love, is how much are you willing to endure to keep it? And I would say love and liking to me is the same thing, because it's really difficult to differentiate between the two. If you have a relationship with someone and you're not really willing to, like, let's say, wait 30 minutes later to go to dinner with them, probably have very little liking in there. If you have kids, you're probably willing to do a lot for them. I'll give you an example that a friend of mine said. Like, if you have a car that you've been working on all the time, like a lot of guys like tinker with.
Must love that car, right?
That thing's a piece of crap. He must love that thing. It barely runs because of what he's willing to put up with. And so it's kind of interesting when you think, like, you can measure love by your willingness to sacrifice or endure in order to keep it.
So he said there, measure it by your willingness. See? So not necessarily your sacrifice itself, but your willingness.
95% of women are in a relationship for security, and a man is in a relationship for love. If he in a real, what is he in a relationship for?
You tell us that. That's a good question. What do you think men is in relationship?
Love.
Y'all said no.
What
Hell
else?
no.
What am I getting besides somebody saying they love me?
So you think men?
What am I here for if all I'm getting is what you're saying you're giving me?
Which is the love.
What am I getting? So what am I here for? You name it.
It gotta be love, because there's nothing else that's coming.
Thank you.
I don't believe that though.
That's the fucked up part about it.
I don't believe that.
That's the fucked up part about it. What the fuck else am I getting?
That's a fact, but I don't believe that. But that is a fact.
That's the part about being delusional.
How you not
as a
gonna
woman.
believe a fact?
You're right. Because you're not really getting nothing else. And if a man is really there, it's gotta be because he love you.
Thank you.
Because he don't gotta be there.
That's why I say men love unconditionally, women love conditionally.
That's a
the
fact.
That's the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
What? Where's my guy? Because I need this particular clip right here, and I'm gonna look for it. because I need it. Where did he put the clip? I'm going to take my time and I'm going to look for it. Because maybe I just don't understand. He moved it. That's fine. I use this one.
How are you getting lost? How is that even possible?
I'm a little retarded. How is going to tell him not to his response, but then don't have a response of her own? She just wanted to be combative instead of allowing him to speak. I mean, well, here's the thing. How do you have the unmitigated gall to then detest a fact, but have nothing to then retort and respond to it? You know that something is a fact, but you don't want to accept fact. That, my friend, is what I like to call cognitive dissonance. Looking a fact directly in the face, accepting it as a fact, and then choose to disembowel from it. But he is saying that women women love unconditionally, conditionally, and men love unconditionally. And I have pushback for that because I think both people, both men and women, love conditionally. It's just that men and women show it differently. See, women have conditions right up front. And men do as well, but we are typically more covert about ours. And if provided that we are overt about it, what we are overt about is different than women. But most women, I would argue, have more breadth, have more of a breadth to be overt about their terms and conditions than men can be. Now, I don't know if people agree with that. Wait, agree we want respect and appreciation. Yeah. To say that men don't love conditionally, I think that's hyperbolic. Because a man that doesn't have terms and conditions, that is a simp. Sorry. A woman will walk right all over and through him. An alpha woman looks for that man and says, yeah, I want to control him. Sorry. Here's the problem. The woman who then says, I want a man who does have terms and conditions and is willing to actually stand up for them, through them, so on and so forth, that man is then ridiculed, or that man is then told that he is I'm being hyperbolic here, but abusive or financially abusive or controlling or whatever the case may be. And that's a problem because our conditions look different. Our conditions look like, yeah, let's not be, don't become a beach whale, please. That's what our conditions look like. Yeah. Conditional due to past experiences, past traumas, etc. Correct. And you know what? That is fair. That is absolutely fair. And as you experience more, especially women, as you experience more, that conditional list becomes longer. Now, it can become longer, to your detriment or for your betterment, depending on how you curtail the list and how you advertise the list. Absolutely. Agreed. So I don't agree with his statement that men love unconditionally and women love conditionally. No. I think what he's perceiving is that women are very upfront and how you like that about their conditions. And men are okay with it because guess what? At the end of the day, we want what's between their legs. And the moment that we start putting what's between ours and what's in our wallets at a place where it's important enough to put our conditions on Front Street instead of offering it in the back end, then we'll start getting some damn respect. Maybe we should start making people understand our terms and conditions. Because how can we expect people, whatever your flavor is, to respect us and what we have if we aren't willing to make them respect it as men? Women do it all the time. And they have the space and the opportunity and the wherewithal to do so. I don't get it. Fellas, help me out. I don't get it. It goes back to what I said before. The fear of not getting none. Whatever. At any rate, back to my other question. Oh, wait. There's one more clip. Yeah.
When a man wants to get married, he's only getting married truly for one reason. Because let me be honest with you women, the men can work and provide for themselves. He does not necessarily need you to cook, clean, and have sex because he can get sex from multiple women. They're giving it out. A lot of them can cook and clean. Their mother taught them, or they can pay someone to get it. The culture is telling them, do not get married. So why would a man go past what the culture is telling him and choose to have a wife? Because with a wife, you can now have love, you can now have nurturing, you can have support, you can have affection. This is what he can't get from a roommate. So if that is not what you're leading with in your relationships with men, is love, support, nurturing, and respect, this is why your husband is now pulling away. You gave him those things. But as you got into the relationship, you got bitter, you got resentful, you start seeing his flaws, start counting that against him, you start measuring him against other men, and now you're pulling back on the love, the affection, and the nurturing.
And truer words have never been spoken. I played that the other day, and I will play it every so often because these are absolutely true words. Now, continuing to work on myself inside and out daily and not internalize and generalize everything. And as we all should. In these spaces, especially where I sit and others like me sit, we kind of have to kind of sort of generalize things to basically ensure that we're not over targeting for the most part. Here's what I'll say. So when it comes to these type of things, it's important to understand things at a very granular level. This is why I kind of broke apart the kind of the process of how the cycle works relative to thought, feeling, action. How does that work for the most part? And I'm going to break down love and in love because I explained the love part already. What is the difference between love and in love? Well, I'm going to bring you back to this cycle right here. Thought, feeling, action. Thought, feeling, action. That in love portion, there's one word that makes that discerns the difference between just feeling this overall rush and the action of wanting to express love, and then in love. Commitment. The commitment to this cycle right here on a continuous, repetitive cycle with and to somebody. And wanting to engender and galvanize this cycle to and with someone on a repetitive, continuous cycle. Commitment. And the other part of it is that you've determined that on a consistent basis that somebody else's cycle of love, you have determined that you want that cycle of love on a repetitive, consistent basis. And you are content with their cycle of love. Thought, feelings, action. That's the difference. Because you can act on just love in itself. You can show it. And then you can just retract and then go and show that to somebody else all day long without commitment. So, that for the most part concludes my entire thought process of understanding the terms and conditions of someone's conditional love. Because I've already answered the question that love most definitely is conditional and why it is conditional. Now, with that in mind, I'm looking over on my left, on the left side, and seeing on my side, and didn't see that anyone came in on this end. But I appreciate you, Braxton, for coming over on my side. And as far as everybody else, oh, you said, okay, I see it. And I see some confirmations here. I see some confirmations there. There we go. Oh, wait, okay, same thing. You just repeated it. Okay, got it. Let's see. Sometimes the person who knew you for 2 months will love you better than the person for 2 years. Be open to love. Well, yes. And you kind of have to be. Yeah, I don't know how to. I don't know much more. I don't really know how much more to kind of open or expound on that. Because if you are not necessarily ready to receive it, then how can you expect it? Here's the other thing. If you're not really open enough to actually open to the idea of expressing it, it's kind of a selfish position to be in, to expect it, and you're not in a position to actually provide it. What a selfish person to expect something and you're not in a position to offer it. Now, I wonder what gender often finds themselves in that position. The expecting portion and less of the provisionary portion as it relates to acts of or the evidentiary aspect of love. But facts, don't expect what you can't give. Perfectly said. And so, for me, I would say that Boss man taking shots. Well, I mean, if someone caught it, or if someone's who will watch this catches it, no matter what gender they are, then they catch it. I've been averaging about 150 to 200 200 views or so. So some it may vary as to who gonna catch it. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see, and we'll see by the comments. But I may have to come back to this and touch up on the actual theory itself, because maybe I am not exactly on point as to why it is indeed conditional versus unconditional. But one thing's for sure and two things for certain that I know for a fact, especially as a man, and I can't speak from the woman's perspective, but I can speak from a man. I know I have conditions to meet as a man towards my wife. And every woman I've ever been with, either if it was just for, what was the word again? Hang on, y'all. Copulation of amorously fondling. To amorously fondle. There were conditions to even amorously fondle. So if there were conditions there, you damn right there was conditions for me to earn anything that was even that was even resembling or relating to any semblance of love. And I would even argue, in the position that I was in, I'd loved them more than they would ever consider loving me. Embracing our mistakes as opportunities for growth, taking ownership of our actions, and striving for self-improvement are essential for personal development and progress. Love it. But, and me as a man, I have grown as I've grown older to expect things or requirements or conditions from women, and now my wife, from her, to continue getting what I know to be valuable of myself. It just is what it is. Wedlocked or not, there are requirements. If I want something done, I ask. Need something done, I demand. Simple as that. And if it's a pattern, we're going to have a talk about it. And if you want that same reciprocation of importance met on my end, you're going to have to give a little. Simple as that. So I'd imagine, as a man, me being having to be responsible for meeting requirements and setting requirements by that definition alone, and to avoid argument fallacy, I can imagine that as a woman, y'all would probably have requirements, right? And have requirements levied upon you. The problem is, I would argue, potentially, do women like requirements? Especially from a man. I would argue that the real women do. And the women who are growing to become real women don't. And the men who can't levy expectation, you still got some growing to do. And when you get here, let me know. All right. So it's been real with y'all. All right. I appreciate you all for coming out. Hey, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right. Support the show. All right. You can support me directly at the Boss Man, the Objectivist, OBJVST. You can also like, share, and subscribe on my own platform at the Objectivist Podcast with Boss Man. All right. Hey, and make sure you support the family. Okay. Support this brother. All right. At the Black Men Unfiltered Network, or actually Black Men Unfiltered, Cash App here. Like, share, and subscribe, and keep the comments going on the show. All right. All right. I will not be here next week, but I will be around. Okay. And like I always say, make sure that you always think a little bit deeper, think longer, think harder, and think objectively. And whatever you come up with, make sure you stay on that shit. All right. Good night, everybody, and salute to you.
All right, guys, another one in the books. Another great episode on the Black Men Unfiltered Network. Listen, we're doing the thing over here. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, which helps the channel, hit your boy Cash App. It's scrolling right here, right there, at the bottom of the screen. And support the channel. But we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to seeing you on every episode. So hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Thank you again, guys, for watching. We out.